gaudeamus igitur, juvenes dum sumus, post jucundam juventutem, post molestam senectutem, nos habebitumus, ubi sunt qui ante nos, immundo fuere, ubi sunt qui ante nos, immundo fuere, adeassa inferos, transeassa superos, ossivis videre, vivat academia, vivat professores, vivat academia, vivat professores, vivat membrum quod libet, vivat membra quae libet, semper si in flore, juvenes dum sumus, gaudeamus igitur, juvenes dum sumus, post jucundam juventutem, post molestam senectutem, nos habebitumus, ubi sunt qui ante nos, immundo fuere, ubi sunt qui ante nos, immundo fuere, adeassa inferos, transeassa superos, ossivis videre, vivat academia, vivat professores, vivat academia, vivat professores, vivat membrum quod libet, vivat membra quae libet, semper si in flore, immundo fuere, ubi sunt qui ante nos, immundo fuere, adeassa inferos, transeassa superos, ossivis videre, vivat academia, vivat professores, vivat academia, vivat professores, vivat membrum quod libet, vivat membra quae libet, semper si in flore, immundo fuere, ubi sunt qui ante nos, immundo fuere, adeassa inferos, transeassa superos, ossivis videre, vivat academia, vivat professores.
Muito boa tarde a todos. Em nome do magnífico reitor da Universidade do Algarve, declaro aberta a cerimónia de atribuição do título Doutor Honoris Causa em Turismo ao Professor Doutor Jafar Jafari. Good afternoon. On behalf of the magnificent Rector of the University of Algarve, I declare open the ceremony for awarding of the title of Doctor Honoris Causa in Tourism to Professor Jafar Jafari. A proposta de atribuição do título honorífico Doutor Honoris Causa em Turismo ao Professor Doutor Jafar Jafari foi uma iniciativa da Faculdade de Economia, tendo recolhido pareceres favoráveis por unanimidade por parte de todos os Conselhos Científicos e Técnico-científicos. Iniciamos esta cerimónia com um momento musical protagonizado por Nelson Conceição, acordeonista e compositor algarvio, que vai interpretar o tema Charuelska e um medley inspirado na música árabe. Vai agora usar da palavra o magnífico reitor da Universidade do Algarve, Paulo Águas. The rector of the University of Algarve, Paulo Águas, will now take the floor.
Boa tarde, sejam muito bem-vindos à cerimónia para a outorga do título de Doutor Honoris Causa, ao Sr. Professor Jafar Jafari. I'm starting in Portuguese, but very soon I will change to English in order to Professor Jafar Jafari follow my words. Caro Professor Jafar Jafari, caro Professor João Albino Silva, magnífica reitora da Universidade de Évora, senhoras e senhores membros da equipa reitoral, senhor presidente da Comissão de Coordenação e Desenvolvimento Regional do Algarve, senhor presidente da Associação Académica, cumprimento onde ele estiver, não é? Porque creio que não estou a vê-lo, digníssimas autoridades militares e forças de segurança, senhores cônsules honorários de Espanha e de Marrocos, senhoras e senhores diretores das unidades orgânicas e demais órgãos, senhores diretores regionais do Serviço de Informações de Segurança e da Agricultura e Pescas do Algarve, senhoras e senhores empresários, caros e caras participantes na Conferência Internacional em Tourism and Management Studies, caras e caros docentes, investigadores, restantes funcionários e estudantes, minhas senhoras e meus senhores. Muito obrigado pela presença de todas e de todos. Um cumprimento muito especial ao Sr. Professor Catedrático Jubilado João Albino Silva, a quem caberá, na qualidade de padrinho, fazer o elogio do novo Doutor Honoris Causa. Muito obrigado por ter aceito o convite. Pelo conhecimento que possui da obra do professor Jafar Jafari, é a personalidade mais indicada para nos apresentar o novo Doutor Honoris Causa. The last, but not least, my warmest greetings to Professor Jafar Jafari. I do it with great satisfaction and a very deep respect. We already consider you as one of us. From today, you will be part of the University of Algarve forever. You may not be aware, but your presence at the University of Algarve dates back to 1990. Let me clarify this statement. In the late 1980s, the rector, Lloyd Braga, asked the School of Management, Hospitality and Tourism to develop undergraduate programs in tourism and hotel management. At that time, non-existing programs in the public Portuguese higher education system. Well, to be more precise, 1 year, at that time there were no programs, but before our program started, Universidade de Aveiro, there are some representatives from Universidade de Aveiro, started 1 year before of University of Algarve. The first intake of students was in 1991, but the scientific journals arrived to our library before the students. It was the case of the volume 17, number 1, 1990, of Annals of Tourism Research, the most prestigious scientific tourism journal at that time, still is, founded by Professor Jafar Jafari. It was a special issue about tourism in central economies, with an editorial addressing a software survey section. Yours propose, was to encourage the open exchange of information on software programs unique to our professional field. Do you remember that? These were your words. 20 years after, more or less, the University of Algarve, after that, 20 years after we started the subscription of the Annals of Tourism Research, we already run several master programs, both in the School of Management, Hospitality and Tourism and in the School of Economics, and also an international PhD program in tourism. More recently, Professor Jafar Jafari itself stayed with us during an academic year as an invited full professor. At that time, the rector was João Guerreiro, and the dean of the School of Economics was Ifigênio Rebelo, also today's dean. Well, currently, the Hospitality and Hotel Management Research Unit of the University of Algarve is the best, or got the best overall quality grade by the Portuguese Funding Research Agency. This is a great achievement, and we are quite proud of that. In fact, since 2019, the University of Algarve is in the world top 100 of the Shanghai ranking in the academic subject of hospitality and tourism management. It is indeed a great achievement. Being size is a critical dimension in Shanghai ranking methodology, and as everybody knows, we are a small university at a worldwide scale. Despite that, we have such an amazing position. Hospitality and tourism management is our only academic subject ranked in the top 100 worldwide. And not all the Portuguese universities bigger than the University of Algarve has a single academic subject ranked in the top 100. Professor Jafar Jafari, in my opinion, these achievements are also your achievements. Your inspiration, your guidance boosted our performance. Your ability to build and share networks and your encouragement to the open exchange of information, as you wrote in the editorial volume 17, number 1, which I mentioned before, were critical to us. I'm deeply grateful to you, but also to the scientific committee of the School of Economics, the proponent of this award, and also to the academic senate of our university, which approved this decision as an unanimous decision. Muito obrigado. Muito obrigado.
Convido-vos agora a ouvir a laudatio proferida pelo professor Dr. João Albino Silva. I now invite you to listen to the laudatio given by Professor João Albino Silva.
Good evening. Magnificent Rector, Professor Paulo Águas, and other members of the rectoral team, Magnificent Rector of the University of Évora, President of the CCDR, Algarve, and other regional entities, military authorities and security forces, the President of the Academic Association, I think he will be here, Honorary Consuls of Spain and Morocco, Deans of Organic Units of our university, dear entrepreneurs and representatives of the tourism and hospitality industry, dear faculty, students and staff, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. By designation of the competent bodies of the University of Algarve, it is incumbent on me to utter words due to this solemn act of granting the insignia of Doctor Honoris Causa to Professor Jafar Jafari. Although I had the privilege of a very close human and intellectual interaction for more than 12 years, Professor, I am truly honored to be able to work with him. The truth is that hardly an economist like myself has the capacity to evaluate the scientific work of a cultural anthropologist. I accepted this task, knowing that I probably won't be able to do it justice. But forgive me for the boldness and frankness. I chose to do it because it will give me great pleasure. It will give me great pleasure, Professor Jafari. In fact, the attributes rightly associated to Professor Jafar Jafari, pioneer in the history of tourism studies, and one of the outstanding personalities of our time in the areas of scientific publishing, in the areas and the promotion of academic organizations and interface with the business world of tourism, if they cannot be properly valued, neither will they be diminished by my words, since they have long been recognized and appreciated by the scientific community and by the most important public and private organizations worldwide. Let me start by emphasizing that Professor Jafar Jafari is indeed one of the most outstanding personalities of our time in the field of tourism studies. He is today the most respected academic worldwide, either by universities, governments, world organizations such as the World Tourism Organization, and even by the business tourism sector. This rare unanimity is the result of his exceptional professional and human qualities. As a professor of merit, author of reference articles, editor associated with projects of excellence, brilliant lecturer, consultant, and facilitator of networks for the study and transfer of knowledge in tourism. With regards to his contribution to scientific knowledge in this field, and without pretending to be exhaustive, Professor Jafari has been a pioneer in analyzing the cultural aspects of tourism, its diversity, and societal changes in reflecting on the sustainability of development processes, as well as in the assessment of the transforming role, but also in the social and economic costs of this activity in developing countries. His reflective work led him to question the role of teaching and training human resources, and not least, he made a very relevant contribution to the analysis of the processes of scientific knowledge in this area. In numerous journal articles and books, Professor Jafari has elaborated his holistic view on the evolution of tourism through sequential and at times concurrent positions that he termed as advocacy, cautionary, adaptancy, knowledge-based, and public platforms. Informed by his long experience and perspective, after serving as editor-in-chief between 1973 and 2007 of Annals of Tourism Research, and by the insights derived from his lifetime commitment to tourism, Professor Jafari has developed a classic evolutionary account, which is as much a synthesis of the history of tourism in its development practice as it is a summation of its social science research. In notable ways, this evolutionary articulation reflects his preoccupations and insights along the steps of his academic career. Professor Jafari's engagement with tourism is described in his autobiographical essay called Entry into a New Field of Study, Leaving a Footprint. The beginning of his engagement dates back to the early 1960s, when he took up his first job as a tour guide during his college student years at the University of Isfahan in Iran. This role as a culture broker helped him to see the big picture of the tourism industry and the interactions of its many sectors. This experience was the inspiration for his holistic understanding of tourism, both as an industry and as a socio-cultural phenomenon. His fascination with tourism brought him in the mid-1960s to institutions to hire learning in the United States, to pursue bachelor's and master's degrees in hotel administration at Cornell University, and later his doctorate in cultural anthropology at the University of Minnesota. Upon graduation from Cornell, Professor Jafari continued his academic career as a faculty member at the University of Wisconsin-Stout. teaching in the Hotel and Restaurant Management program, which was later renamed the Department of Hospitality and Tourism Management. In this first year of his teaching career, he had the foresight to create a platform, a journal named Annals of Tourism Research, for the articulation of critical voices on tourism as a socio-cultural phenomenon. With Professors Jafar's love, care, and full-time devotion, Annals has grown to what it is today, the clear leader and the benchmark for journals in this field. With Annals of Tourism Research, and during 34 years as editor-chief, Professor Jafar reminded all tourism researchers that the goal of scientific research is publication. As well as we all know, scientists are measured and become known or remain unknown by their publications. In fact, the cornerstone of the philosophy of science is based on the fundamental assumption that original research must be published. Only thus can new scientific knowledge be authenticated and then added to the existing database that we call scientific knowledge. Science is a fundamentally social activity, which implies that it depends on good communication. That is why Professor Jafar Jafari always insisted on clarity and intelligibility. In addition to this role with Annals, Professor Jafar is chief editorship of the now flagship publication, the Tourism Social Sciences series, that has equally far-reaching influence of the international tourism research community. Another platform that serves as a landmark in the landscape of tourism knowledge is the Encyclopedia of Tourism. Professor Jafari edited the first Encyclopedia of Tourism in the field, which after 6 years of development appeared in 2000. But he wrote, since tourism is perhaps the fastest changing and growing field of study, more so because of its multidisciplinary base, the new version of Encyclopedia of Tourism appeared in 2016. Professor Jafari's lifetime commitment to advancing tourism research, education, and scholarship is also seen in this active facilitation of professional communication, collaborations, and knowledge networks. He is the founding president of the International Academy for the Study of Tourism. According to the Academy's bylaws, its objectives are to further the scholarship research and professional investigation of tourism, to encourage the application of findings, and to advance the international diffusion and the exchange of tourism knowledge. In 1988, Professor Jafari co-founded the TRINET. This network enables tourism researchers to exchange information and participate in discussions or debates on issues related to tourism education and research. In addition to his above-mentioned roles as a disseminator and facilitator, he spares no effort in nurturing a community of learning and practice in tourism with the book series Bridging Tourism, Theory and Practice. This Bridging book series has helped to create a platform for academics and practitioners to share theories and practices. He is also the founding president of the Tourism Intelligence Forum. The forum has just celebrated in 2020 its third conference here in Algarve. Thank you, Jafar. Additionally, through Professor Jafari's visiting, advisory, honorary commitments worldwide, his mentorship and contributions to the academic community span international boundaries and institutions. Among his many titles and appointments, he is the main designer of the master's and PhD programs in tourism at the University of Algarve, Portugal, and at Universidade das Ilhas Baleares, Spain, and holds lifetime honorary professorships in Bundelkhand University, India, and Sun Yat-sen University, China. Among his many honors, he is the recipient of the 2005 United Nations World Tourism Organization's Ulysses Award for excellence in the creation and dissemination of knowledge. He was also awarded with an honorary doctorate, both by the Universidade das Ilhas Baleares and by the Universidad de Las Palmas de Gran Canaria, Spain. More recently, after retirement, he was also awarded the title of Emeritus Professor at Wisconsin University. Magnificent rector. The current national and international recognition in the field of tourism studies of our university is the result of an institutional vision and the quality and effort of its professors and students. But it is important to underline the inspiring character and decisive contribution of Professor Jafar Jafari in this journey. In view of the arguments presented, which highlight the scientific and pedagogical work throughout a brilliant and extraordinary career, I request that the insignia of honorary doctor by the University of Algarve be awarded to Professor Jafar Jafari. Thank you, Professor Jafari. Thank you.
O reitor da Universidade do Algarve, Paulo Águas, vai proceder à imposição das insígnias doutorais ao professor Doutor Jafar Jafari. The Rector of the University of Algarve, Paulo Águas, will now present Professor Jafar Jafari with his doctoral insignia.
Do you accept the PhD as per the request that was made?
With pleasure and honor.
I, Paulo Águas, Rector of the University of Algarve, and on behalf of the Academy, grant Jafar Jafari the title of Doctor Honoris Causa in Tourism, by which I award on him the doctoral insignia and award him the diploma.
Convido a usar da palavra o novo doutor da Universidade do Algarve, Professor Doutor Jafar Jafari. I now invite the new doctor of the University of Algarve, Professor Jafar Jafari, to take the floor.
Magnificent Rector, Professor Paulo Águas, and other members of the rectoral team, magnificent Rector of the University of Evora, which I visited recently, President of CCDR Algarve and other regional entities, military authorities and security forces, the President of the Academic Association, Honorary Consul of Spain and Morocco, Director of Organic Units, members of business community, faculty, students and staff, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I have no idea how to proceed after this introduction that was made of me. I cannot do anything that would match the description. I didn't know myself that well. Thank you very much for the gracious introduction. And I want you to know that I recognize that, or you know that I value the support I have received the years I have been here from a team of individuals who are mostly housed in the Faculty of Economics, headed by our good colleague, lovingly known as Professor Effigenio. And thank you very much, Joao, for the generous contribution, generous introduction you made of me. I truly appreciate it. It sounded very good. It's better than a Toyota commercial. I really appreciate it. It's always difficult to address a mixed audience. Now, you may say it's not a mixed audience, but it is. Not everybody here is from Faculty of Economics. They are from other faculties, members of other faculties are here. Not everybody is a student and professor. Even within the field of science, we don't sometimes speak the same language. Then we have here members of the industry, which have their own language of communication in the sense of application of knowledge. And there might be a few here who belong to neither of these categories. Not a professor, not a student, not in any field, etc., etc. And say, well, how about me? Well, you are included because there is nobody in the world who does not travel. Everybody travels. Either we are producers of knowledge, as we are. Industry is the producer of services, and the public is the consumer of the goods and services. So we are all involved in tourism. Tourism is us. Whether we travel for personal reasons, going to conferences and conventions, visiting friends and relatives, going to pilgrimage to Fatima, Vatican City, Jerusalem, Mecca. Whatever reason, travel and tourism is out there to serve the public, without which none of the above could be done. So we are all in tourism, therefore. The problem is that 2 years ago, more than 2 years ago, we started to having a problem with a pandemic that literally paralyzed tourism. And it created a sense of imprisonment for the public. They couldn't travel to places. And it reduced or minimized or brought to zero economic activities of the tourism industry. There were 2 or more than 2 painful years for everybody. Fortunately, COVID is gradually departing, and we are all getting a sense of mobility and freedom that we had lost. In the past, one lived to work. Today, people work to live, and more recently, work to go away to other places of choice. So working hard at home in order to play hard at the destination. Ladies and gentlemen, tourism is institutionalized. It's part of us. It's not a luxury. It's part of us. It's part of the right of freedom, the right of going to places. So therefore, again, I say tourism is us. I don't want to talk about the history of tourism in a way Dr. Joao Albino did that, some of that, through me, through my story. But still, for the benefit of those who have little familiarity or they want to be reminded of the past, I try to reduce the history of thousands of years into a couple of minutes. Travel and tourism has been with us from a time of immemorial, deep into the depth of time. And it gradually went from staying with others, friends and relatives, and being fed by friends and relatives to businesses that call themselves hotel, restaurants, inns, whatever you call them then. And it became more and more frequent as we come to the present time, to the 20th century. And actually, it came to its new sense, new magnitude after World War II. During World War II, the economies were ruined, countries were ruined physically also. And after the war, these countries look at themselves and say, how can we rebuild? And they discover they have a magnificent culture, heritage, and all the things that are interest to the tourist. And that is where tourism began to have the so-called tourism industry sense. And it became very big. Just before coronavirus, 1.8 billion, there were 1.8 billion arrivals, i.e. going internationally per year. That is a huge number, but that's only part of the picture. International tourism, 1.8 billion, is 5% of tourism. The rest of it is domestic tourism. If you add that to it, you see the magnitude that numbers cannot represent. The initial credits after World War II for bringing tourism to the attention of scientific community and the public is economists. They quantified tourism in the sense of arrivals, numbers, in the case of income, in the case of jobs, in the sense of multiplier effect, and suddenly it was something to pay attention to. And the attention was paid to it. Then other social sciences joined forces, like anthropology and sociology, to study the interaction between the host and guest. Psychologists to study tourism motivation, why people go away, why don't they stay at home. Geographers to map tourism, knowledge and movements. Political science to talk about international relations via tourism, and so on and so forth. So a number of fields gradually got into the field of tourism. But I don't want you to think that tourism is dominated by a single field. In other words, tourism is not economics, it's not anthropology, it's not sociology, it's not geography, it's not psychology, it's not management, it is all of the above. And this is what makes tourism very, very interesting. It's a multi-sector industry at the same time. It's not all hotel business, it's not all airline, it's not all travel agency, tour operation. It's a multi-sector. So multidisciplinary and multi-sector. And it is the industry that has made the global community for us. The industry turned us to a global village. There is no place on earth that needs more than 16 hours to be reached. That is travel and transportation. We are really next to each other, a global village. And thanks goes to hospitality and travel and tourism. There were a lot of problems, hiccups with tourism, not due to the tourism industry itself, but due to the external factors. We have all forgotten about SARS. Probably we have forgotten about tsunami. Probably we have forgotten about September 11 in the United States. All of those hampered tourism, made tourism less safe, questionable, etc. But the one that really brought to its knees was the COVID. And that experience was not, tourism never had. It was an unbelievable situation. But I have to add that out of every negative, we can find something positive. So COVID did something for hospitality and tourism that probably we don't recognized. One, it awakened all the governments. They truly understand what tourism is economically, in the sense of job, economic activities, and contribution to gross national product. Every country knows that. Without travel and tourism, the global community became disconnected. We suddenly realized that. And also jobs were lost. And I want to quantify jobs. The minimum number of jobs in tourism is 200 million. And the biggest number we have is 350 million people working in hospitality and tourism. And suddenly, they all disappeared. You can sense now, numbers begin to talk to us. And it brought another connectivity to tourism and recognitions. Suddenly, WHO, World Health Organization, realized that tourism has a role to play in COVID. Suddenly, the ministries of health started to think about tourism. How can we control traffic while the COVID is going on? Suddenly, ILO, which is International Labour Organization, which is in charge of employment, facing 200, 300 million unemployment, got involved. So what I'm trying to say, intergovernmental organizations also learned how important tourism is. And the top of the governments is the United Nations. Even United Nations recognized how important tourism is. Not that it hadn't before, but it brought it to the General Assembly by inviting the Secretary General of the World Tourism Organization to address the General Assembly in New York. And that had never happened before. And that was last May that this happened. So these are the recognitions, left-handed recognitions, if you want to call it, due to COVID that we got, and tourism came to a visibility that it never had. During the COVID, I'm sure you were asked this question before, as I was asked many times, do you think tourism is going to come back? It was a typical question that people were asking during the first few months of COVID. And my answer was, as soon as COVID checks out, tourism checks in. I want to confess that I was wrong. Tourism COVID had not totally checked out, but tourism checked in. And you already saw that for yourself this year. We were not free of COVID, but people were traveling massively. I can give one personal example, and you have more yourself. Mallorca is a tourism destination, and this summer I was there. I could not tell the difference between the size or the volume of tourism in the summer of this year and before COVID. And I think you had the similar experience in Algarve and other places. So I was wrong. I thought COVID has to check out entirely for tourism to come in. No, people want tourism. I mean, they couldn't wait. Actually, they spend more money now after COVID than they ever did before. So these are things that are showing the importance of tourism to us. Now, I talked more about the industry, but there is something more to it. Tourism has two arms, or two segments. One is the industry, and the other one is the academic community. And I didn't talk really about academic community. Dr. João Silva, more or less, talking about my resume, but that was academic side of tourism. So academic community engagement in tourism was humble and limited at the beginning, but then soon in 1990s, the scientification of tourism began, with more and more universities opening their doors to hospitality and tourism education, variety of degrees from bachelor's degree to master's to PhD, or even postdoc. So that was a great achievement on the academic side of tourism. The reason we grew as fast as we did in the academic side of tourism is initially we imported knowledge from other fields, such as economics, sociology, geography, and so on and so forth. So we did not have to work from scratch. We imported the knowledge, and with that knowledge, we started building a knowledge body for tourism. So a lot of credit goes to those bundles of knowledge that came from other fields to us. And how good did we play this game in the academia? I'm afraid we played it too good. You're talking about 3 journals then. We have 450 journals in hospitality and tourism in English. Now add the other languages to it. It is unbelievable how big it has become. Last year, over 10,752 academic articles were published. Think about it. That is unbelievable. The problem is that this knowledge often doesn't help the industry because we don't speak the language of the industry. The industry cannot decode our thick language. And this is the area that the disconnectivity is appearing. What is happening in the academic community, we are circulating the knowledge. We are not exporting. We should export because we are good importers of knowledge, but we are not really exporting. We are just circulating among ourselves and warehoused in the libraries, basically. The industry and academia flex their muscles differently. We are tuned to the citation index, and travel and tourism is tuned to Tribal Advisors Index and repeat customers. There are 2 different species when you can think about it. And there is sometimes there's little communication going on between the 2. It takes 2 to tango, and we are not doing a tango dance in the field of tourism. Industry and academia are not tangoing. Industry uses its own, serves the tourist, and academia is serving future generation of individuals entering the tourism industry. And this separation, this gap, was noticed many, many years ago, and some of us at different times tried to close the gap with limited success. For example, T-Forum was mentioned. T-Forum is something that we did with 9 institutions, industry and academia, from Italy, Spain, Portugal, China, Brazil. I hope I'm not forgetting something. We came together. There were some countries we had more than 2 representations. Industry and industry was represented, and academic unit was interested. So we did some good progress. We brought the industry and the tourism knowledge base together. A couple of books came out of it. Conferences, the last one which took place, which happened to be here in 2020, and it was supposed to be the earlier part of 2020 in person. Of course, nobody dared to continue. We made it 100% online here. That was, and because of COVID, we have not activated T-Forum yet. Some years before that, as Dr. Silva mentioned, Professor Silva mentioned, was the start of Bridging Tourism Theory and Practice with some 13 volumes out. And that one has done something, but using a Chinese proverb, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Maybe we have taken 5 or 6 steps. We have a long way to unite the 2 arms of tourism, academia, and the industry. Both the academia and the industry learned a lot of lessons before COVID and during the COVID. And I want to share some of those lessons with you, and I will try to do it a bit more quickly to not make it too long. What I'm going to suggest to you has benefit from the things I edit. Some of the ideas are not totally mine. They are inspired by what I read. And the best source of inspiration for me has been Encyclopedia of Tourism, which covers all the subjects, and some 750 subjects are included. So I get ideas as I read, and those ideas have influenced my choice of lessons learned. The first lesson is that the time is past, that we have to connect, build bridges between academic community and non-academic community and the industry. We academicians have to ask ourselves, what are we doing for the industry? Without the industry, there was no need to study tourism. So we need to shape, we need to start to deliver. So that lesson was there before, attempts were made to connect, still disconnected. And more or less, the industry says that the academia talks and doesn't walk its talks. That's correct. We don't really put applications into it, or we don't publish in that particular area. When I say we don't, I mean most of the time we don't. We need to share the knowledge in short articles that the industry can benefit from, read and benefit from. Again, time has come for universities to give credit to professors who write applied articles. The universities don't do that. If the universities don't credit individuals, professors, for doing that, the professors say, why do I need to do that? I want my promotion, and this would not help my promotion, raise tenure, etc. So we have to find ways, as some other fields have, to give credit for applied knowledge. Time to recognize that intelligence consists not only of knowledge, but also of the ability to apply knowledge in practice. Isn't that a beautiful statement? I didn't write that. Aristotle said that 300 years before Christ. Let me read it once more. Intelligence consists not only of knowledge, but also of the ability to apply knowledge in practice. That's what I'm trying to also say, bridging. If that's not enough, let me get another one from the old days, 300 years before Christ. We go to China. Zhu Guang, about 300 years before Christ, he said, "Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I may remember. Involve me and I learn." We need involvement. And universities need to involve students in the practice of delivering hospitality and tourism. Well, the message has not come to us after so many years, and we are still quoting all the scholars. The ultimate goal is to get students or people at any level to become, another point that we have to learn is the other lesson we have to get, that tourism is not only a minds-on industry, it's a minds-on and hands-on industry. And let me give you the definition of hands-on, minds-on description. The ultimate goal is to get students or people at any level to become as mentally and physically engaged as possible in the learning process, regardless of the subject they are learning. So this is really a task that academia needs to absorb, and again, we have not figured out how to do that. Other fields have done that. Look at the medical field, look at engineering. They are exporting their knowledge to the public and to the practitioners. And how come we are not very active in that area. Time for tourism to function similar to medical field and engineering. Before COVID, there were tourism was market-driven. And the markets of then, and still today, by the way, are the so-called famous S of tourism. Sun, sea, surf, sand, and another S. During the COVID, we got a different sense of S words. And I really, the next S words I'm going to share with you is my understanding of what the field says. I have done with colleagues over 60 webinars since the coronavirus. That's a lot of webinars if you think about it. And what I'm going to read for you is the sense I got out of those webinars. They were all focusing on community development, small community development in tourism. And the operative S's now are safety, security, sanitation, service, sensitivity, sustainability, and satisfaction. They were there before, but we did not group them together. It was a luxury thing, but it is it's a must. The tourists want these things, as long as they are tangible products we offer. Time for the academia to expand its education package by including more social sciences. The social science which has stayed on in the field of hospitality and tourism is economics. But other social sciences have been gradually pushed aside. The newest, as I talked about, we need the other social sciences like anthropology, psychology, sociology, geography to come into the picture. So we need to put those more in the package of education. Today, more than before, tourism employees need to be recalibrated with the ability to empathize. I want to emphasize this, empathize. With whom? With the tourist. The tourists have certain doubts when they travel. So we need to empathize. They need to empathize with the tourist. To empathize with the residents. Some of them had bad experience with tourism before COVID, and they don't want this to be repeated. So we have to read their minds and empathize with them. And we also need to empathize with co-workers. And co-workers in tourism are extremely important. A large percentage of employees in hospitality and tourism are from other countries. In USA, as much as 30% of employees of hospitality and tourism were not born in USA. And as you can imagine, some of them don't even speak English. So we need to empathize with that co-workers as well. And are we teaching that at work? And I know, for example, Portugal is now employing a large number of legal immigrants. So the employees need to learn the dual capacity of being ambassadors of the tourists in the community and to be ambassadors of community among the tourists. And then they have to manage their own internal culture and collaboration. Time for the industry and academia to instigate the art and practice of three-way empathy that I mentioned. Time to place more emphasis on in-house training and invite academic people to join forces. Maybe that is a door that the industry can open, and I assure you that academia would walk through it. Time for the industry to recognize that manpower development is not an expense, it is an investment. Many industries still think it is expense. No, I'm sorry, it's investment in human resources. So we need to do that. Time to recognize that this tourism workforce is changing. As of now, 55% of people working in hospitality and tourism are women. Just recently, November 9th, UNWTO, in its meeting of World Travel Market in London, said that this is the force that we have to that we will be proud of, and they will be populating the tourism industry. It's time to recognize that soon we'll be dominating the field of hospital work, both in the industry and in academia, from top to higher. I didn't say bottom to top, I said top to higher. So the scene is really changing in hospitality and tourism. Other trends that are sometimes forgotten, for example, is entrepreneurship. We usually deal with big businesses, big things, but entrepreneurship is extremely important in hospitality and tourism, or SMEs that we used to call them and still do. In the G20 economic meetings of UNWTO held in Bali 2 days ago, they emphasized the importance of SMEs and entrepreneurship. So the big picture is changing somehow. Time for the government to stop lionizing tourism by favoring the big businesses of tourism in the country, not realizing that the lion's share of tourism is the small communities, the small operators, the SMEs. So we have to switch. Governments, unfortunately, go for volume, for bigness, and the little guys, little businesses are often forgotten. That's why we started the webinar series that I mentioned. We have done 60 of them. And we concentrate, we focus on small community tourism, not large. Time for the universities to open their doors to professional professors, people coming from the industry. Some fields are doing that, and some universities in the field of tourism have started doing that. I think all universities that have hospitality and tourism should open the door and have this appointment of professional professors. For time for the professors to spend their sabbatical leaves in the industry. How many colleagues, you professors who are sitting here, know that for their sabbatical leaves they went to the industry? Very few. And why don't we do that? If we are teaching tourism, why don't we want to experience it and work with the industry? Time for professors to stop being thesis advisors and become coaches. Time for the industry to increase participation in selecting applicants for entrance to bachelor's, master's, and PhD program. After all, it's the industry that hires them. Be at the beginning of the process. And some universities do that, by the way, not that it's totally out. Time to give more credit to the applicants who have experience, not just good grades. Time to re-emphasize multiculturalism and multilingualism. This is very important in tourism. Just to make you have a feeling for what I'm saying, think of, I see Pedro sitting there, Pestana sitting there. Think about a Pestana hotel with 300 rooms, 200 rooms. Under that roof, I promise you there are 20 nationalities among the tourists and 10 nationalities among the workers. That's a little United Nations. It's a little United Nations. And that is what we need to manage. So multiculturalism and multilingualism is extremely important. Technology has a tendency to leave its past behind, its past products behind, and move forward for uniformity, for newness, uniformity, and globalization. Time to remind ourselves that tourism celebrates both the past and present, and significantly, we celebrate differences among us. That is what makes tourism going. So we are more in glocalization, not globalization. And with this approach of globalizations, the culture, the foods, the drinks, the heritage, the historical buildings receive more attention. They're guarded, and the host would be very happy with that development thanks to tourism. Time to recognize that tourism is a homegrown product, and it should be done according to the home values and systems. And if we do that, then each destination is going to be different. We should not copy each other. But it has to be homegrown industry. And this is, I'm not in marketing, but they call this unique selling proposition in marketing. You have to be unique, and you are unique because you have different culture. Each community has a different culture, different arts, different music, different something, different gastronomy. So bring out that colors, local colors out. And local people will be very proud of that. Time to recognize that tourism needs to go with the home atmosphere. Time for tourism to become sustainable, not sustainable in the sense of business, but in the sense of sustainability and climate change. Guess what is going on right now in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt? COP27, still in progress. And if you think tourism is not mentioned there, you're wrong. If you think tourism people are not there, you're wrong. They are there. Tourism contributes to climate change in the negative sense, and we have to find ways to reduce that situation. Time to recognize that tourism has many products. Some of them are kinder to the climate change. For example, slow tourism and local food. These are more climate friendly than some other rapid type of tourism. High time for the industry to realize that it cannot limit itself to the tourist only and should increasingly cater to the well-beings of the host community, host population. Actually, this morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, today I will be going to Gran Canaria. We have a roundtable just on that. They have the conference, annual conference there, on health tourism and well-being tourism. So it's a hot topic, and we owe it to contribute to that subject for the sake of the community. Time to not only monitor tourist satisfaction, that's what we were doing before coronavirus. Time has come to also monitor the sensitivity of the host community. Is there irritation going up or down because of tourism? We have to measure that. And we also need to monitor the workplace sentiment, the atmosphere in the place. So we should not limit ourselves only to monitoring the satisfaction of tourism that we want to go up every year. So instead of having destination management organizations, we need to have community destination management organization. Time to prevent the return of over-tourism. That was a bad lesson we learned. We should not even use the terminology. We should talk about under-capacity development and over-capacity development. Over-capacity development is over-tourism. So under-capacity is what we want. And over-tourism is not about big cities of Barcelona and Dubrovnik and Venice, which is counted in millions. Over-tourism is for a community of 500 people, and they get more than share of tourism. That is over-tourism. So don't confuse over-tourism with millions. At any level, it can happen. I'm getting to the end of my talk. Time to work for time not to work for tourists, but to work with tourists and with residents. This way, the spirit of hospitality comes to the front. Time to promote cooperation, collaboration, and partnership across the field. The academy needs to work with the industry needs to work with the academy, academic community, and the two of them need to work with the government. That's the first time I now mention government. So we need to align host and guest populations, and we need to align industry and academia. Tourism has been a tourist industry. Time for tourism to become a bifocal industry, having an eye on the host and having an eye on the tourist. Bifocalism is extremely important in the years to come. And we should be favoring glocalization rather than globalization, because that goes for standardization, for local communities to lose their own color and flavor, and this is not what tourism wants. So put globalization on the back seat for the time being. Time to recognize that tourism has the capacity to benefit all: tourists, residents, tourism employees, and the government. And if we play it right, a nice place to live would be a nice place to visit. Could go on and on with this, but I think I need to wrap it up. And I want to finish it with a different concept, which is called peace and tourism. Since early times, many articles and books and conferences have been published on peace and tourism and the relationship between the two. I had the privilege of being one of the architects of the 1988 Peace Tourism Conference in Vancouver, which attracted 800 people then. And then we had Soviet Union. And I remember from Soviet Union, we had 700 participants in Vancouver. So the interest was there, and the idea was peace and tourism have some sort of connectivity, and they should be promoted. So my talk was basically so far most of it addressed to industry and academia, but I want to bring the government into the picture, because peace is something beyond the control of the academia and the industry. But we are in Portugal now, and I want to personalize in the sense of saying that one of the well-known national citizen of Portugal is Senor Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations. He is the president of the global government, president of the presidents, if you wish. And we are in his country, and I would like to basically address him, though he's not here. Maybe Maria, I don't know where you are, maybe you can help me with your new technology to bring Secretary General here, so invisibly here, and we could do it. But we do that some other times, Maria. But I truly enjoyed your presentation. It was new to me, and I hope you continue with it. It reminded me that I wrote an article some years ago called Scientification of Tourism, and I encourage you to write an article called Metaversification of Tourism. I think you were saying that tourism is going to go in that direction. So, Senor Guterres, you know that all of your countries, there are 193 of them, are in tourism. Every single country of the United Nations is in tourism, either inbound tourism or outbound tourism and or domestic tourism. There is no single country that has no tourism. I challenge you, and if you name one country that doesn't have any tourism, I ask Pedro to give you 1 week of vacation, fully paid, in Pestana hotels. And we will give you a one-way ticket by TAP Air Portugal. We send you to the destination, in one way we give it to you. Go there, develop tourism, make a market for Portuguese tourism in that country, you get your return ticket at that time. So, Mr. Good, since I'm in his country, I want to emphasize the importance of Portugal in tourism as well. So all of them are included, all of them are involved in tourism. Senor Guterres, tourism is the crossroad of history, of culture, of religion, and much more. Through UN countries, people of the world can meet and can interact. Senor Guterres, invite all of your member countries, which occupy different neighborhoods on a global village, to open their hearts, to open their doors, to open their gates, to open their borders, and also to remove all travel barriers to facilitate movement of people, freedom. Senor Guterres, years of discussion on conflict resolution in the halls of the United Nations have had limited success. Give a chance to people of the world to pass through the crossroads of culture and civilization, which runs through all of the 193 countries, to let visitors and the guests get to know each other and negotiate peace. To discover that when we do that, we discover that we are more the same than different. People can open doors that government has not succeeded. Let an army of tourists do the negotiation. Tourism can act as a catalyst for intercultural understanding, for conflict resolution, for collaboration, for rapprochement, for coexistence, and for peace. This is all in support of United Nations mission, which is peace, prosperity, and order. Tourism can contribute to all three of them. Tourism is a peace industry because its own existence depends on peace. It has no choice but to be a peace-loving industry. Let us rediscover tourism potentials in the sense of economics, earnings, employment, etc., but also its ability for reconciliation. Senor Antonio Guterres, Rector Paulo Aguas, colleagues, time to empower tourism. Our world is broken, and tourism can help to mend it. And this high point, with this high point made, it's time for me to end my talk by thanking the University of Algarve for bestowing upon me its Doctor Honoris Causa, which I proudly accept and celebrate. Thank you very much. Muito obrigado.
Vamos agora escutar Nelson Conceição em duo com Tiago Conceição, que vão interpretar dois temas. O primeiro é Libertango, da autoria de Astor Piazzolla e arranjo de Nelson Conceição, e o segundo tema, da autoria de João Barra Bexiga, intitula-se Amigos. Antes de terminar a sessão, convido todos os presentes para o jantar que será servido no refeitório do Campus de Gambelas. Agradecemos a todos a honra que nos deram com a vossa presença nesta cerimónia e solicitamos que a plateia se mantenha nos seus lugares até à saída do cortejo académico. We ask the audience to remain in their places until the academic procession leaves the auditorium. Em nome do magnífico reitor da Universidade do Algarve, declaro encerrada esta sessão. Boa noite a todos. On behalf of the Rector of the University of Algarve, I declare this session closed. Good night to all.
Gaudeamus igitur, juvenes dum sumus, post jucundam juventutem, post molestam senectutem, nos habebitumus, ubi sunt qui ante nos, immundo fuere, ubi sunt qui ante nos, immundo fuere, adeassa inferos, transeassa superos, ossi vis videre, vivat academia, vivat professores, vivat academia, vivat professores, vivat membrum quod libet, vivat membra quae libet, semper si in flore, semper si in flore, juvenes dum sumus, gaudeamus igitur, juvenes dum sumus, post jucundam juventutem, post molestam senectutem, nos habebitumus, ubi sunt qui ante nos, immundo fuere, ubi sunt qui ante nos, immundo fuere, adeassa inferos, transeassa superos, ossi vis videre, vivat academia, vivat professores, vivat academia, vivat professores, vivat membrum quod libet, vivat membra quae libet, semper si in flore, semper si in flore.